Good evening, I'm Kathy Lewis, and here's what matters tonight. Some big changes are coming to a television set near you. You have no doubt been seeing promotional advertising talking about digital television. Well, tonight we'll go behind the technology to let you know why broadcasting is changing and what it means to you. Joining us to talk about the new technology are Bert Schmidt, the president and CEO of WHRO, and Dr. Glenn Carrillo, who's with the College of Technology at ECPI. Welcome to both of you, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Delighted to be here.
You know, this has been such an interesting evolution to watch the debate over digital broadcasting, which is not a debate anymore. It's coming at us, isn't
very
it?
soon.
Indeed
Well,
it is.
Yeah, digital TV actually is here right now. That's the thing people don't seem to realize. It's been here, at least at WHRO, for many years. And we still hear of people who are saying, I can't wait till February where I can actually see digital TV. And, you know, it's out there now.
You
so
can
people,
see it now.
Yeah, take advantage
The
of
issue
it.
that's happening in February is that
There
analog will not.
There won't be analog TV
Yeah.
anymore in February. That's the big challenge.
And analog is essentially, Glenn, you probably know it so much more technically than I do. I just think of it as the way TV's always been. Is that fair enough?
Which is exactly right.
Yeah.
And it's going to switch to digital, which for the consumer will give them a much clearer, brighter, more vivid picture. So it's really a positive. It's not a negative in any way, except for the people who don't have cable or satellite, just have an antenna. They will need to go out and get a converter box. And if you like, I'll tell you how you can go about that and make it very simple for the consumer.
In fact, just in a few moments, we've got one of our engineers went and hooked one of these boxes up for one of our viewers. So we'll talk about that in the course of the program. If you haven't gotten that box yet, one of the things you need to know is how to do it, and also you'll need to know that WHRO and ECPI are in a great partnership, so that if you get this box, you have any questions at all, there's a hotline number to call, and we'll talk about that in the course of our program. But before we get there, though, how did we get to this place? What precipitated was it technology that precipitated it?
Well, way back in the early 90s, the discussion was always about helping with the budget and taking spectrum. You could take all this television spectrum and move it to the digital spectrum, compress it, and then sell off that spectrum to for-profit companies, and which is what they've done. But the budget deficits are in a different world than we were, 20 years ago. So it's a little different now. But it originated, really, it wasn't market-driven, it was government-driven.
And that government-driven start to this whole thing has been very much a part of some people's concerns about digital broadcasting. In fact, there was a recent poll that showed that many people are still very confused about it. So we took our cameras out on the street to get some thoughts from people about digital broadcasting.
I think it's kind of funny that they're going to make us change. But then again, they have all control of everything, so what's the big difference, right? At least they're giving us, I guess, a discount.
If you have an analog TV and you don't have cable or a satellite or high-definition TV, you're going to lose
television.
All your television. So what are you going to do?
Not watch television.
What would happen if you woke up and there was snow? You'd be miserable without your TV?
You know I would. I'm a sports fan. Football, basketball, and baseball.
Okay.
I love my sports.
We'd be just as happy to leave it alone, but the government says no, so we'll change.
There doesn't seem to be a problem if the government is going to give everyone a voucher, as long as people will still have access to the networks and PBS.
Well, we hope they still have access to PBS, and in fact, they will.
They will. In fact, really to keep TV going, it's pretty simple. There is a converter box. Many stores sell them. There are coupons available that you can go to our site and connect to get those coupons. So it's really pretty easy to get set up. But it's a shame when I hear people say they're just going to stop watching TV.
Right.
Because there's a lot of good stuff out there. And with digital TV, frankly, you just get more TV, so you can be selective, find what kind of programs you like.
One of the other concerns we've heard is people who've said, look, this is Big Brother stuff. And you heard the first gentleman talked about the control, that it was about the government having some control. I hear this from folks all the time, and I certainly don't think that's the case. But
yeah, I'm not sure where this has started, but the government's pushed this for budgetary purposes to sell the spectrum, but there's no Big Brother trying to check on what you're doing. I mean, you can still get television over the air. It's just a different way it's coming to you. Right. It's not waves. It's digital. It's ones and zeros. That's all.
And the point is, on one day in February, our date is February 17th, the analog goes away, and the digital that for many of us has been there already takes over. So how do you go about getting this box, and what do you do?
You can go to either a website, there's an 800 number. The federal government, interestingly, Bert was alluding to budgetary reasons for this all coming about. The federal government is providing $40 coupons to anybody who calls in or writes in and requests them. Within 3 weeks, you will get the coupon. The coupon is good for 90 days, and then it expires. And then you go out and use it within that 90-day period to purchase your box. This is not going to come out of the federal budget. In fact, the $40 is being taken out of the monies that are being generated as a result of the sale of the analog spectrum to cell phone companies and other users. So it's a wash. So it's not costing us anything.
It's a very good point, particularly when we've been talking about taxpayers bailing lots of other things out.
Right.
That does not seem to be the case here.
So when they get the coupon, they go out, then the box is running anywhere from $40 to $60. So they will have to lay out probably a maximum of about $20. They take the box home, and we want to emphasize that you can hook it up today. Don't wait.
Good point.
Because you don't have to. The signal will sail through now. Once it's hooked up, you won't know the difference. And it's very simple to hook up.
Well, we're about to see just how simple it is. Lisa Godley went along for the ride with one of our engineers who helped a woman in York County put that cable converter box, or put that digital converter box in.
Penny Ruth Dennis is one of close to 20 million people who receive only over-the-air television signals in her home. And like most of them, she knows that time is running out to make the transition from analog to digital. Because, like it or not, come midnight February 17th, analog broadcast television will cease to exist.
Even though I don't watch all that TV, I certainly want my TVs to be working.
If you have an analog TV, to keep from losing your signal on February 17th, you should purchase a DTV converter box. They range in price from $35 to about $60 and can be found at retail stores like Target. You can also apply for a government coupon, which should knock about $40 off the price. That's the least expensive route to go. Other options include hooking your analog set up to a satellite dish or cable, or purchasing a high-definition television.
Well, what I'm going to do is we have the new digital converter box that
we asked WHRO engineer Glenn Hickman to help Ms. Dennis make the digital conversion.
Then what we'll do, we'll disconnect the antenna cable from your television set. So this will be the antenna connection from the antenna, and you plug that here into the box where it says antenna in, and then the output, it says antenna out. So we'll go from here to the back of the television where this connector was hooked up before, and then your power cable will just go to a convenient outlet.
Once the cables were secure, it was time to test things out.
Then we'll come down to the television set and turn it on.
Ms. Dennis immediately noticed the difference.
What you did, the one box, enabled the additional channels to be available.
Not only will the digital conversion allow stations to broadcast more than one channel, but they can do so at no additional cost to viewers. For example, instead of just picking up PBS Channel 15, Ms. Dennis will now receive 15.1, which is WHRO in high definition, 15.2, which is World Now, and 15.3, which is WHRO Kids.
Aside from the fact that it has to be done, I believe that my friends, like I, will be very happy that it is being done. And I'm extremely well pleased, and more than well pleased, with the reception and with the clarity.
On some of the channels, we noticed the picture breaking up, much like it would if clouds or a storm interfered with a satellite signal. So we asked our engineer why.
Yeah, basically, Yorktown is a bit of a fringe area. If you have an antenna mounted on the top of your house, then your signal should be okay as long as it's pointed in the right direction. With rabbit ears like we have on Miss Penny's television, it's going to be a little hit or miss as to whether it's going to work or not. Her antenna is really not suitable for the box. It's actually kind of lucky that we're picking up 15. So that's why we're going to wind up having to get her another antenna so that it incorporates the UHF and the VHF frequencies on the one connector.
After this is done, Ms. Penny Ruth Dennis should be good to go. She says she plans to apply for the $40 government coupons to get converter boxes for her other televisions, and she encourages everyone to get ready.
Well, I imagine if people, didn't do it by the date that's it won't be too long before they'll start working because they're not going to be without their TV.
Oh, that's nice. I'm glad we got this. She brought up a very interesting point, too, which is we think of our television sets as being one large set that we may have, but she said, people have more than one television set, which is another interesting point.
And they will need a converter box for each set.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is. Now, it's a relatively small population that does not have cable, that does not have satellite. But that population needs to know, Kathy, that on February 17th, 2009, if they do not hook up a converter box, all they're going to get on their set is snow.
It's not like the picture is going to be there, but not as good as you might expect. It really is just going to be snow.
Yeah. High definition is on a completely different spectrum. And so the channels will not work on her analog set unless she has a digital converter box on the top.
The great news is that WHRO and ECPI have entered into a partnership to begin to bring you this information, give you some help as you work through this process of connecting converter boxes. And you rightly say, don't wait till the last minute to do this. You don't want to be like cooking the turkey, call the turkey hotline on Wednesday or whatever. You want to have this squared away ahead of time.
For you. That's right. We have several students who have been studying this for many months, and they are anxious to help people, eager to answer the phone. And we've got a helpline set up along with WHRO at 213-3534. If people will call that helpline, we will go to voicemail. We ask you to leave your telephone number and your name, and one of us will call back within 24 hours, and we will help you, talk you through the connection to your television.
Yeah.
So you will have the answer.
And as we saw in that piece, which I thought was such a great point, it depends where you live, what sort of situation you're going to run into. There are some variables in this that people may run into as they begin to hook it up.
There's a lot of variables. One of them is the antenna, as your engineer very rightly pointed out. If you have a set of rabbit ears on top of the set, it may or may not work. You may, in fact, need an outside antenna to pick up those signals and bring them into the house. So if you hook up the converter box and the rabbit ears don't work, don't panic. It may be you just need a different antenna, a stronger antenna, higher up to bring in the signals.
I have a feeling if anyone wants an entrepreneurial opportunity, Antennas Are Us would be a good store to open right around that February time.
But that is the reason why they need to do it now. Test it today while there's still both analog and digital. Don't wait until February 17th because it goes away. And if your antenna doesn't work the way it's currently set up, then you're going to be out of luck for a while. And we don't want anybody to be without at least WHRO.
Sure, absolutely. And we are recording this program in the Thanksgiving time frame, so this would be a great time while you have some time off work to begin to look at that and try to figure out if there is an opportunity for you to get that done sooner rather than later. It's a great point indeed. We know that in the fourth quarter we always see television ads, and I suspect with February 17th coming on us pretty quickly, we're going to see more television ads for this new technology in this season. You're an early adopter, Bert Schmidt. You've been digital for a long time. He was digital before digital was cool.
Yeah, a long time ago I started.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
What do you like about it?
Well, one, obviously the picture's much better. But I think more importantly is you get more content. WHRO has 4 TV stations, the one we're watching now, but we also have 3 other digital stations. We have WHRO Create, which is all how-to programming. We have WHRO Kids, which is all 24/7 children's programming. And we just debuted in early November WHRO World, which is the best of the nonfiction public affairs programming on WHRO in public television. So These are digital shows. They're not broadcasting an analog signal. They're broadcasting a digital signal. So even you can still get free TV and get that many more channels.
Right.
So that's what I think is great.
That's without cable. I mean, you can
Without
get
cable,
that. Yeah.
sure. Just
And
get
that's
this
why we
little
talk about 15.1, 15.2, 15.3, that sort of thing. That's what you mean. So really, it is enhancing the value of what is on the television anyway.
There's more TV, more choices to choose from,
Yeah.
and it's still free.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Glenn Carrillo, ECPI is engaged in this partnership, and this is just one of the things you're doing over there. You've done a great job over there, bringing that institution to a whole different level.
Well, as you indicated, it is College of Technology,
Yeah.
and the technology has been changing so quickly. We haven't seen the technological advancement that we have seen in the last 100 years in the previous 5,000-10,000 years. If you think about it, since the advent of television, the advent of aviation, the advent of computers, we haven't seen the technological advancement in the last 100 years than in the entire history of mankind put together up to this point.
It's amazing.
So we are living in privileged times. And to really appreciate that, you have to understand how television itself has changed. We've gone from a black and white 4:3 aspect ratio to this beautiful high definition 16:9 ratio that the public is absolutely going to fall in love with as soon as they get a chance to see it. Yes, ma'am, I do.
Do you have one?
Yes, of course.
You're an early adopter, of course. Why do I ask
Well,
that?
I'm not really an early adopter,
Yeah.
but I've seen it. Bert's way ahead of me in terms of adopting, but I have seen these pictures, and they're so much clearer. I really can't describe it to you. You have to put it side by side and say, whoa.
Well, the difference is an example. You see the hair on the back of somebody's arm, the little strand of hair. If they're watching you, there may be a little strand of hair coming off of you that they'll see in high definition.
Good, glad to know that.
And also the sound is also so much
forward to that.
better as well.
Really?
So there's no comparison. Even for people who are not real technology savvy, often people will watch I have a nice television setup, and then they're watching this beautiful setup, and then you go back to analog, and you're like, oh, this is kind of old style TV. I want to go back. And
Kind of spoils you.
It does. It does
Yeah.
spoil you.
It really is analogous to going from black and white to color. That's how dramatic the change is.
And of course, there are folks in our audience who can remember that moment when that happened.
I certainly can.
I can too. I was very small at the time, of course. But yeah, and you're right. And once you got used to seeing color television, the black and white just didn't seem to get it anymore.
That's right.
And that's probably exactly what we'll have with
And
this.
so much of this is computer driven.
Yeah.
And that's, of course, what we teach, we emphasize, we keep up with at ECPI College of Technology.
It's an interesting question you raised, the issue of computers, because there's been a great conversation about how we will access these programs. And I think those of us who've watched television for a long time have a hard time wrapping our minds around this concept of digital and data and what it really means. Do you have the sense that we are going to have a shared media experience that we have now, but in decreasing quantities? Are we going to continue to share media experiences, or are we all going to be on our own individual computers with our big screens putting up the program that we want on demand?
It's interesting you bring that up, Kathy. If you go back to the 1970s, we were told when we had the advent of television and cable that movie theaters were going to go away. Well, they didn't, obviously.
Good point.
Blockbuster was going to put the movie business out of business, and everybody was going to cocoon in their homes. That's just not going to happen. We are human beings, and sociologically, we need to have contact with other people. So we're still going to have the shared experience, but it's not going to be isolated within our homes.
But I don't think we'll ever have the shared experience we had 20 or 30 years ago, where you get 100 million people watching the same thing. You may have the Super Bowl, or there are exceptions there, but the ratings for a successful TV show today are much lower, the benchmark's much lower today than they were many years back. And even when you watch things like the election, the coverage that people are watching is very much spread out. It used to be 3 channels you'd watch for election coverage. Now, I mean, how many are on your dial? And they're all niche focused. So here's ones for the conservative and for the liberals, and so people are hearing different messages.
Yeah.
So even though maybe we're sharing this, say, in the election experience that we had, or talking about the economy, but there are different points of view. pay-per-view, so we're not really sharing the exact same, like Ed Sullivan, where everybody watches Ed Sullivan.
Right.
We don't have that anymore.
Yeah, to show you how the sociologists, I think, got it wrong, when broadcasting came along, that was the shared experience. Everybody watched. Then when cable came in, it was supposed to be narrowcasting, and we would just broadcast just to the people who loved opera or
Right.
that kind of thing. Well, that didn't work out at all. Now the cable stations want as broad an audience as possible. So they are going for the shared experience. But because there's so many cable channels, you can only divide the pie up so many ways.
And there's so much programming out there now too,
Absolutely.
which is that to me is a bit of the great gift of this, is that there's so much great programming that in the course of a day you don't get a chance to see. So that's a great gift. Give us that number again, will you, for the help from ECPI and
Absolutely.
WHRO.
757-213-3534.
So-
And if people will call that, we have a couple of days where we're going to be doing live answering of the phones. But for the most part, we're going to have it go to voicemail, and then our students within 24 hours will call you back, explain exactly what
That's
you
great.
need, and walk you through the hookup process for your converter box.
Well, it's a great experience for them and a great opportunity for both of our institutions, no question about that. Bert, as you think about, I was just thinking about funding models for public broadcasting, which is in some respects a separate conversation, except that some people were suggesting that around digital there might be an opportunity to get some dollars out of that to set up a different kind of funding model for public broadcasting down the road.
Well,
what
our
do you
funding
see
model
with
is
that?
pretty diverse. I know that is a different topic, but we have a great diversity of revenue sources. So I'm more focused on content. I mean,
Yeah.
we with this new WHRO world, we're bringing locally produced programs from throughout the region to the region. So I'm more focused on making sure
So they're
yeah, for example, the Virginia Beach programs produced in Virginia Beach now can be seen by the entire region, or Norfolk, Williamsburg.
You
So
know,
to
that's
me, it's about
something we have
content.
needed to do for so long. If we are really going to be focused as a region on looking at moving forward together, it doesn't make much sense for someone in Portsmouth not to be able to experience the issues in Virginia Beach or Newport News or Hampton or Williamsburg. That's something that's needed to happen.
So
for a
that's what
long
this
time.
channel is all about. So I think if we fulfill our mission well, then our money comes in through philanthropic
Yeah.
efforts and efforts with the schools.
Yeah, I was just thinking back several years ago. There was that conversation about the possibility of doing some sort of dedicated funding base for public broadcasting. But I guess that's a conversation that will continue.
Yeah. There's
Continue over
always
time.
discussions about how we best get funded.
Yeah, indeed so. But that's an exciting opportunity to have that regional programming, because it certainly is one of the things we're really, I think, beginning to understand. And Glenn, you've been here, as I have, since the lava cooled, and so you've been watching this for a long time too. But it does seem to me that we are getting this growing sense that it is not enough for one city or another city or another city to do well. That really, unless we all get in the boat, that there are situations where one city's success really is just not going to be enough to float the
No
whole
question about it. We are not going to succeed economically by individual cities. We're only going to succeed as a region, as a Hampton Roads region. And the minimal of those 7 cities have to come together and recognize that.
Well, Glenn Carrillo, it's been a pleasure to be one of your colleagues over the years, and I'm very happy to have had you with us tonight and looking forward to this partnership. And Bert, thank you for walking down the hall. Appreciate it.
Tough walk.
I'll be back in a moment with a final thought. You know, I have to be honest, digital broadcasting solves a problem I'm beginning to be more convinced that I have, but truly, I'm pretty satisfied with the quality of my present television picture, although our guests tonight tell me I'm going to be wild about the new opportunity. To see every detail even more clearly is really not such a comfort to those of us who are anxiously awaiting our copies of Barbara Walters' Guide to Looking Great on Digital Television, but be that as it may, I think the real benefit of digital television is in the expansion of the programming choices on so many stations. Frankly, there is so much great content out there, and there just aren't enough hours in a traditional broadcast day to bring them all to you. As Bert Schmidt told you, we already offer you this station, our legacy channel, now in digital, along with WHRO Create, where you can see all the great cooking and gardening and traveling programming. WHRO Kids features, you guessed it, quality children's programming. And of course, we've just launched WHRO World, bringing you programs from around the globe and and closer to home to put your world in some perspective. Now, if you have cable and you don't need that converter box, let me leave you with a suggestion from one of our colleagues here at WHRO. Why not go ahead and order one and donate it to a school or a nursing home near you? Between budget cuts and skyrocketing health care costs, every little bit has to help. Well, what do you think about digital television? Is it worth the pain of conversion? Are you so excited about this great picture? Now I'm going to have to go out and buy one of these things. I'm completely excited about it. Give us a call at 889-9437 or write to us at 5200 Hampton Boulevard, Norfolk, Virginia, 23508. You can also watch this broadcast at whatmatters.tv, and you can send us an email at whatmatters@whro.org. You can also subscribe to our What Matters e-bit for weekly updates to your inbox about upcoming programs. Now, I am no longer going to be satisfied with the television I have. Thank you so much, both of you. Thank you for watching as well. Next week, a special treat, a conversation with 97-year-old in vitro fertilization pioneer, Dr. Howard Jones. He is still going strong, and you won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.